And I'm glad you brought up the difference between when we were talking about, cloning sheep and, creating, ears on the back of mice that we could sew onto
Yeah.
someone, all that kind of stuff. We sort of had this self-imposed cultural moratorium on like, that creeps us out. We're not sure we want to do that. We think there are ethical problems with that. And the difference between that and the artificial technology, artificial intelligence boom, as it were, and the sort of unbridled, enthusiastic embrace of it. We have voices talking about, hey, let's put a moratorium on that, which I want to get to in a little bit. But do you see a difference? Like, what do you think accounts for the difference between like, ooh, we might be able to do this, and people are like, we're okay not doing it. And we didn't need necessarily this mass call for regulation. We did have some of that, but the culture was okay with stopping it. And we're not talking about it a lot. We are talking about it some. With this, there seems to be almost no sense of that, like, hey, pump the brakes, except for a few voices like yourself and others who have said, let's be careful what we're doing. Do you see a shift somewhere that accounted for that difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key difference is the way that social media has kept people from having just ordinary, normal conversations, like the water cooler conversations at work. Well, that stopped during COVID, and then obviously like, people are going back to the office, but still, like our culture has shifted in a way where we just talk to ordinary people in our lives less and less. It's like yeah, if you go to like the grocery store to check something out, and the odds of having like a little conversation of like, oh, I saw that in the newspaper headline, like a conversation with the checkout person, that doesn't happen as much as it used to. In part because there isn't a newspaper right there anymore to have something to talk about. Everyone's just on their phone, on their feed. And
Mm.
so the very algorithms that determine what we see are curated by the same big tech companies that are leading the race to create this artificial general intelligence that they're trying to replace all workers with. And so I
Wow.
think, well, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that
So, yeah.
that to me is just such an important distinction on, one of the things we try to do is not to say, here's what the issues are and what you should think about them, but how to think these things through. And what you just pointed out, I think is one of the more profound encapsulations of the way in which our artificial conversations are leading to our comfortability with an artificial intelligence that we just
Uh,
use because it's easy and it makes life, far less creative in my view, but easier in many ways. And so we're not having real conversations the way we used to, because ironically, the algorithms that artificially generate conversations or curate them are leading to our comfort with this kind of thing. So that's one of the best encapsulations. I think the cultural difference between those two things is that we used to think this way or be able to talk this way because we used to talk to each other. And
yeah.
now we just try to talk at each other because we're in a constant state of broadcast medium. Here's an opinion. I share that opinion or I don't. I'm broadcasting it, but I'm not really interacting with you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the algorithm selects for your emotional response to maximize your engagement.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like for the one more thing on that thread is the philosopher Anton Barbacay points out that as much as we should be worried about like fully transhumanist technologies like brain-computer interfaces, at the end of the day, there's less difference than we want to think between like having the computer chip in here and having the screen right here.
Yeah.
And if we're used to
Yeah.
having our reality filtered through the screen to begin with, it's not that much of a leap just to move the screen a little bit further in.
Yeah.
So when the shift from nature, like human interaction in person being natural, to the artificial becoming natural, like seeming natural because it's become like a second nature imposed upon the nature we're given by God,
Mhm.
that's the fundamental transition. And that's what makes it harder for people to have, just normal conversations, normal interactions with each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, that reminds me even of some of the work of Philip Sherrard, who talked about
Yeah.
this, the issues between the mechanistic view of the universe, and it's a short leap from viewing the universe as a mechanism to humanity as a mechanism, and from viewing creation as just inert matter for your use, and then to viewing humanity in the same way. And it seems like we're just sort of climbing towards that sort of further and further, that sort of process that we've been on for a few centuries now. But now we
Yeah.
have the technology to sort of
Make it happen.
do that. Yeah, make it happen.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the things I think about, Brian, I'm curious, I first got fascinated with this topic about artificial intelligence and where it's leading us as a human race and how we think about what it means to be human when I saw the now pretty famous story about Jason Allen, who won an art contest using Midjourney. No
Oh
one
yeah.
knew it. And then he got to keep the art contest first prize
Mhm.
because he typed in some prompts, which are quote unquote artistic.
Yeah.
And then he made that statement, art is dead, AI won, humans lost, as if it was a brag, which was weird to me. And it goes right back to, I think, sort of the Genesis 3 kind of a thing where it's like I get to shake my fist at God and say, I finally did it. You couldn't create a being as good as you. We created something better than us. And now we can win first prize at art contests without even being artists. But Norbert Wiener had talked about this in the human use of human beings and this idea of, commoditizing human beings. And it's not too far afield to say that if we can reduce people to pattern recognition and data output and mechanize them, well, then we can commoditize them. Are you worried about that kind of a shift as well in terms of how technology makes us think about ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I agree. There's like a long trajectory here that AI is just ratcheting it up in a significant way, but continuing the process it's been undergoing, where we more and more lose sight of the intrinsic value of things, of as like the inherent worth of being the kind of person who can make a good painting, even if it's not the world's best painting, the kind of person who can write a poem, even if now Claude can write a better poem.
Mhm.
And so is as the intrinsic goodness of activity, like a leisurely activity for its own sake, is something that our culture just has gotten worse at valuing as we've more emphasized the extrinsic goods, like the prestige, power, profit, that like can be attained regardless of like, if you're good at gaming the system,
Mhm.
regardless of how good you are internally. Yeah. So the Midjourney example is a perfect example of that,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh well, I don't care about the intrinsic goodness of the art. I just care about the prize, the money,
Yeah.
winning the award, and I like rubbing it in people's faces.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's I think that does encapsulate like unfortunate trend in our society where it's like we've lost sight of like the goodness of apprenticeship, of like humbly beginning a practice and like slowly ascending through the stages of mastery in it, because we just want the shortcut, we just want the end goal, and we want like the pleasure that comes from being recognized for it.
Yeah. Mm.